嗨，大家好，我是风帆。今天呢，我会请 Steven 来和我做一个 Q&A。Steven 呢，他一直在我的生活中扮演我的导师和引领者的这样一个身份。我准备了一系列的问题，然后来想看看他的想法。简单的介绍一下他。这里呢是一个他的书，叫做《A Social History of Educational Studies and Research》。因为这本书呢，它还赢得了一个Book Award with 跟另外一个教授叫 Gary， 然后这个是2019年，小心放好。然后呢，他的另一本书叫做New Directions for Education in China， 这个呢是他与其他作者合著的一本书，其中也包括他的女儿。然后这一个是他在印度的时候做的一个研究，这本书叫做 An Indian Childhood， 里面讲了很多一些印度的小朋友的童年。这是首页，对，这是他跟另外一个印度的学者，曾经是他的学生一起合住的。看一下，孩子们住在街上，跟他的妈妈，后面就是一所建好的特别漂亮的房子，所以贫富差距相差很大。I will introduce my first question to you here. So now my first question is, have you seen any progress with me over the past years?
Well, I remember it's over the past 4.5 years now, so I've seen you change from someone who was a little bit unsure about yourself and very, very unsure about London and what it held for you, to someone who now I would say is a very confident and very self-assertive and very worldly wise young lady. So I've seen a great deal of change in you, and I would like to think that your experience here has done you a lot of positive good, and that it's been a good foundation for you for future life.
Wow, thank you very much, Steve.
It's a pleasure, don't worry.
Okay, next one. Where do you imagine I will be heading for future employment?
Well, in English we have a phrase, it's probably around the world, the world is your oyster. I don't know if you've heard that. And I believe that actually you can go to very many places, not quite anywhere you want to go in the world, such as North Korea, for example, but I think there's a lot of options. When I first met you in Wenzhou several years ago, one thing was very strong in my mind when I met you, was that you had almost no options. You were running out. People were not treating you so well. Your luck was not falling well. So now I think there's all sorts of possibilities that lie ahead for you. For example, one of them is you could try and stay here in Britain and maybe continue your postgraduate studies. So that's an option. Another one is to head off back to China, to one of the big cities. I know which one I would like you to go to, and to seek your fame and fortune in one of those cities. Another thing that we've spoken about is whether you could explore the possibility of going to the Pacific coast of Canada, because everyone tells me how wonderful Canada is as a country, and I know that you might be quite shocked if you go there to realize just how Asian it is over there, with Koreans and Chinese and Japanese. You may even feel quite at home there. So I think there's a lot of possibilities. My preference at the moment is that you try and find a bit of security and stability back in China. My personal favorite place in China, as you probably know, is the city called Hangzhou.
Okay, I've been thinking of that. Still looking for the jobs, so let's hope I can find somewhere in the nice city, or Hangzhou I mean. So yeah, fingers crossed for my job hunting. And now the next question is, when I do get an offer to start a new job, what is the main advice you would give to me?
There's several things. So if you don't mind me talking quite a lot on this because it's extremely important. Over the years, I've helped and supported a lot of people who've been students from China, and a lot of them have sought employment and got a job, and after getting the job they've been miserable, they've been unhappy. It's not what they wanted, it wasn't their ambition. And so I say to them, before they put themselves in the position to get a job offer, please be very, very careful to have done your research and make sure that you know what you are going in for. Recently, I was with a very talented student. She was from a city called Wenzhou, and she went to work at what was called an international school. Now, she was a linguist, and she'd really enjoyed studying in London and in New Zealand, by the way. And then she ended up in a place which treats its employers as though they're slaves. She has no time out of work. In the daytime or the weekends, she feels that she's working like a slave with little recognition and encouragement, and she's basically quite unhappy. And I would hope that doesn't happen to you. So be careful what you are applying for. Secondly, what I think you need to do is to make sure that you start something that you feel is a personal interest. Whatever you do, do not get a job just because of the money. Very often these kind of places are places where the management treats employers poorly. And I believe you're someone who now, after an experience in London, has learned the importance of people treating each other well and treating each other with respect and kindliness. And so I hope you can find a position somewhere where you are treated with dignity and respect and kindliness. Obviously, it matters that you're somewhere where you are given a certain amount of income. One problem you face in some of the cities in China, like Shanghai, for example, is that living costs are terribly expensive. They're very, very high. And as you know, I've traveled around a lot of China, and I've been surprised in some of the lesser cities and the lesser towns that I've been to, how much cheaper everything is, and how the standard of living of people is often very, very comfortable indeed, because living costs are so much cheaper. Also, in some of the smaller places that I've been to, the environment is so much superior to the large big cities. So be careful, think wisely, and do something that offers you a number of benefits: the environment, the living standards. The next advice I would give: ask yourself the question, is this a place that I feel that I can settle into and make friends? And one of the great things about working in a school or a college or university is it gives you an opportunity to meet people and to become friends and work colleagues and to feel that you belong, that you have a place. So think carefully about where you are going to work.
That was a very long answer. Well, thank you very much. I have been doing researches of companies that I want to get employment at. So I think that's a really good a tip, that do research of the company that you want to get into, more firm of what you are doing, you're spending your next few years at. Okay, so the next question is, have you learned anything from me over the past 4.5 years?
Well, I've learned a great deal from you. I mean, remember, if you've been staying here as my lodger for all that time, it's given me a very strong focus throughout the whole time on China itself, because you're always bringing to my attention issues about China and what's going on in the society and developments, and it keeps my mind focused on that. The other thing, of course, that has happened is that you've been doing an ESOL course, and so was helping you when you were doing that. You then did a BA course at the University of West London, and on that BA course it was theatre production and management, something that I've been involved with at the Questors Theatre. So it kept me thinking a lot about those sort of issues, which I had already been involved with, but it was very interesting to hear your perspective. And then more recently, you've been doing a very difficult, challenging study about playwriting. And that's encouraged me, I think, to do a little bit of reading about the issue myself. So all the time, every year, as your focus has been changing, I think it's been encouraging me to look. So yes, I would say that in the whole, you've helped to stimulate my educational interests rather than it just being a one-way traffic from me to you. So well done, congratulations.
So my final question to you today is, I now feel very much home here in London. Did you think at the first that I would adapt to this new environment?
Well, I was very concerned about that because I knew for a start that you did in fact come from near a very big city, even though in China Wenzhou is considered a small nothing city. In European terms it would be the second largest city in Europe. The only city in Europe that's the same size in population as Wenzhou, which is nothing in China, is indeed London. So I didn't have any worries about you being able to navigate yourself around. Obviously you would have to learn your way around. But I will remember the way that when we were walking up to Ealing for the first time, you actually thought you were walking into a kind of tourist area, and it was just ordinary the Ealing High Street, and you were impressed by all the old buildings that were there and the park and the fancy buildings around Walpole Park and everything. So I did realize right from the beginning that everything was very new for you and that it would take time. What has happened though is that since then, and I think the big change happened when you joined the college for the ESOL course, you met a couple of very good lecturers. I was very pleased that you managed to meet some fellow students, and I think by going out with them and becoming familiar with the neighbourhood, with the college, with a small group of friends, going to the pub with them and that sort of thing, it helped you very much to settle in and settle down and feel that you had a place. And people liked you, and that was very nice. The other thing, of course, that happened very, very quickly with you was that you started to help on productions at Questors, and very quickly a lot of people got to know who you were, got to enjoy your company, started to actually ask if you would help them in their productions, and that gave you a kind of community that you could belong to. And so I was within a few months, I was convinced that the London experience would be a very positive one for you.
Thank you very much, Steve. This has been a great Q&A, and thanks for joining me, and you have given me a lot to think of. I do appreciate all your help all the way along from the time being. It's now almost 4.5 years, and I have another roughly half years here. I do wish I can get most out of this. Yeah, it has been a life-changing experience for me to being here from a very rural background of China, having opportunity to study here and living here and getting to know another culture is quite something that someone from my background will usually do. That's all for today, and thank you again.
You're always welcome back, so just give me a phone call and let me know when you're getting on the aeroplane to come and visit dear old London.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for watching, and thanks for sharing this time with us, and bye bye, see you at my next one.
Bye bye.